Here we go. Is it recording? And three, two, one. Ben Lawrence.
Paul Goody.
So we are, to my watch, 13 minutes past when the podcast was supposed to start.
Yep.
You sent me a text message that said, yo, and here's exactly what happened. I have no idea how to explain this other than just to tell you the sequence of events. I got off work. Normally, I got off work at 4 o'clock, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then I was receiving some, things going on at work. So I actually ended up starting work, or not starting work, but leaving work at 4:30 rather than 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's like, we got to get some mushrooms for dinner. And so I went with her to the place. And this is, we start at 6 o'clock our time. So perfect. No problem whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
No problem. We have tons of time.
The mushroom store isn't that far away.
Exactly. And we get back in enough time. And Jennifer's like, okay, you got to wash the rice for the dinner that I'm going to make. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. I will go ahead and wash this rice. The reason I keep pausing and looking is that I keep on getting this system notification helper that a system restart is needed to complete the update process. And it looks like it's just not going to go away, that I'm going to get because seriously, the mentions of it, they just keep coming. I think I may have to pause my story just for a second so I can show you this. Can you see my screen?
I can. Yeah, that looks that looks like a bug of some sort.
It doesn't go away. They just keep happening. But I am recording. As you can see, the thing goes. So I'm just going to keep it. So I get back.
Software gore. You get back and you're constantly throwing Jennifer under the bus.
Can you? No, not at all. She says, "Can you wash the rice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I will wash the rice." So I wash the rice. I finish washing the rice. I'm done. I say, "Great, I'm done washing the rice. Now I can do whatever I want." And I start watching the latest episode of Poker Face, and then because that came out, and I'm like, "Yay!"
It is Thursday.
And then I get your text. So between, I mentioned several times on the trip out that I have the podcast tonight. We get back in time. I'd say we're back in time for the podcast. So what I've pinpointed is, it is the moment I get done washing the rice, I'm done with the thing I was supposed to do. The thing I was supposed to do being wash the rice. And so in my head, I'm done with everything I'm supposed to do. And the evening, I have nothing else, planned. And so I just start doing stuff. That's what it seems like to me. Also, my alarm, I don't have an alarm. I have a notification. Notification is on. It works, but I didn't get a ding or anything. So I'm going to go into that now. That's the next thing I'm going to do right now. As we're doing the podcast, because it's great, I'm going to go in. I'm looking for today. It says podcast. I'm going to go into the podcast. I'm going to edit. And you see right now it says alert none.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to change the alert, and I'm going to say five. No, how long did it take me to 13 minutes from the time that, or you told me at 9, right? Or 9 after?
So yeah, I gave you the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to say 10 minutes before. Save for future events. All right. Man. So now I should hopefully get a ding when it happens. And that should save some stuff. Hey, speaking about saving some stuff, there's some stuff that I'm going to save to the end when the audience isn't listening.
The ongoing saga of the post-show commentary.
Get ready for that. Yeah. Hey, speaking of the post-show commentary, look, it's Edward the dog.
Hey, Edward.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Has absolutely no idea what's going on.
Oh, just nothing behind those tiny little eyes. That's not true, though. He knows when he's a good boy, for instance. And he gets very excited. Hey, there's something to talk about. You remember those dogs that that press the buttons and they say things? The buttons say things.
Yeah, and people think the dogs understand English.
Yep. And I made fun of that with Baggy, the bag that speaks English.
Did you?
Remember that at all? I did it on TikTok. It was a bag that had different words written in it. I'm like, hey, Baggy, how are you feeling today? And I picked out a word, and the word was something like scientist. I'm like, Baggy, you feel like a scientist? Baggy's really curious today. And then that sort of thing. But
yeah, as
I watch it and as I work with Edward, just in general as a dog, now he won't use the buttons because he's afraid of them. And also he weighs less, so he can't really push them. But I mean, he knows words, right?
I don't think it was so much that the dogs understand words, is that the dogs knew the syntax.
Yeah. And so, that there was something that one of the people so Jason Alexander and this other guy, Jason Alexander from Seinfeld, and this other guy have a podcast called Really No Really, and I listened to a little bit of it because it was about this, and as you know, I'm interested in it. I mentioned this thing about Coco the gorilla, where people were like, Coco the gorilla was sad because Robin Williams died, and when you actually read what the people who are with Coco wrote, she wasn't sad because Robin Williams died. She was sad because the people in the office were sad, and she said, "Why are you sad?" And they said, "Our friend Robin Williams died." And so Coco was being sympathetic, but didn't necessarily equate Robin Williams with that guy she met one time where she, tried on his glasses.
Yeah, probably not.
So, but the basic thing is that in this case, they were mentioning that their dog was left home alone, and they were recording her, and she pressed the Y button and then made a really, really pitiful sound. Or no, where. It was where. If it was Y, that's
why.
That's an existential dog probably. But yeah, where, and then made this really sad noise. And I don't know. There's some comfort in
everybody asks who's the good girl, but nobody ever asks how's the good girl.
Oh my god. That's good. Yeah. So let's see. I have been doing a thing where I look at the news and I look at Boing Boing. You remember Boing Boing?
I do. I haven't been to Boing Boing in ages.
It's still around.
You know what else is still around? Dig is still around. I just saw something posted on
Digg.
Digg Dig. I just saw that they had posted something to, or like somebody posted a link to a dig.com article. And I'm like, wow, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, The Onion is still around.
Well, that's not surprising. The Onion preceded the internet.
I started watching The Onion's clips on YouTube. And I remember when they came out, I didn't like them that much. I didn't think they were like necessarily that funny, but now I really enjoy them. And Jennifer said it might have been because around the time that they first came out, 13 years ago, I was still doing comedy stuff more. And so it might have been professional jealousy. Like, I might have been watching them going, that's not really funny. Which is possible. But I will say that
I can be funnier than that.
We enjoyed Mr. Show, and weren't jealous of them and didn't say they aren't funny.
Never
So,
said they weren't funny, but there's still a little bit of jealousy that we were never involved in something like that.
oh yeah, that for sure. Um, but I think what we did was good. I like what we did. Um, it is weird whenever I run into something that's sort of like what we did. Not exactly like what we did, but sort of. Taskmaster is one of those things, I think a little bit. Um, the I wouldn't say the Pajama Men, that was more sketch. There was something I all I can think of are Japanese game shows. We were kind of like a Japanese game show in a way. But yeah, if you had to say this is what GudeLaurance would be if we had gotten a lot of money or fame, is there any correlation? Is there anything that's close?
I mean, at a point, a lot of people were. Don't want to say ragging on us for being close to Jackass, but we did a lot of like physical stunts during our pieces that I
Yeah.
think may have become a bit sort of like rote after a while.
Well, it was easy for sure.
Yeah,
No lines to memorize. You just do a thing and
you just
then
bang on the other person with a plastic bat.
yeah. So maybe again that fits into the whole um Taskmaster thing. Game Changer, that's another one. Sort of. I That is something, now that I think about it. If someone had come to us and said, "Hey, we're going to give you tons of money. We want you to do, you know, a regular show," I think we would have ended up doing a game show type thing.
Did you ever
I feel
did you
like.
ever watch Tim and Eric?
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that correlate? I've never seen them, but I hear a lot about them.
There's still a little more sketch than we were,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Not exactly, but a little. Now here's the thing: the Mighty Boosh, much better in what they were doing, but I could see, they had music and weird characters and things like that. I mean, obviously, we could just look at naked ladies. That is sort of, a thing. But I think we might have done an anthology more than characters and stuff.
Yeah. I remember
But
walking out of the pitch session for Naked Ladies. You and I were walking down the street, and I was like, "Well, I guess we actually have to write a show now because they selected us."
yeah. And we
It would have
did.
been. We did write a show. It would have been so easy to not write a show, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah. Hey. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, boing boing in the news, right? So I know stuff now, Ben. Stuff that's happened.
Oh yeah.
You can quiz me on the news, and I bet you I can answer.
Uh, Gosh, why don't you quiz me because nothing's coming to me about what's in the news lately.
Oh, okay. So I live in Illinois.
You do live in Illinois.
What happened recently in Illinois that is rare, in politics?
Did your governor not go to jail?
Hey, no, our governor did not go to jail, but that's not newsworthy.
Something political that happened in Illinois that is rare in politics or in Illinois politics?
In Illinois politics, and I'll be more specific if you want. It happened in our most populous city.
So something happened in Chicago.
That is correct.
Something political happened in Chicago that is rare. Does this have to do with state level politics? State level government?
No, this is city politics.
City politics. Something happened in Chicago, in the municipality of Chicago. Yeah, no idea.
Okay.
Maybe there was
The incumbent mayor didn't do what?
the incumbent mayor didn't get reelected?
Yes, but not only that, the incumbent mayor has not made the runoff to the mayoral election. Normally, the
Oh,
incumbent mayor would be like running against someone else, but it didn't happen.
who's the mayor?
Mayor, I think it's Mayor Lightfoot.
Did Mayor
Uh,
Lightfoot not want to run, or just they didn't have
no,
enough
no,
votes, or?
Mayor Lightfoot did not have enough votes,
Wow, I
so
guess
that's
I
kind of
guess
crazy.
I guess they are not popular in Chicago,
Yeah, yeah,
or they want a heavier fist.
exactly. There is a talk about you know, crime. Everybody's talking about crime
Of course.
in there. Oh, there's something that also happened recently. Oh, I remember. Um, who threw whom under the bus this week in the news?
Who threw whom under the bus? Does this have anything to do with our previous president?
It does in a way. Our previous president was tangentially related, made a comment about the
Oh, is this Rupert Murdoch saying that the
yes,
the talking heads on Fox News were lying about the election?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Under oath, he was like, I suppose I will, you know, be forthright in what I know. And there are some people who said, "Oh, he shouldn't have done that," which is fun.
I am enjoying seeing the texts and emails from the Fox News talking heads regarding
Oh, I
people
didn't
like
see any of those.
Sidney Powell. Yeah, there was. I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna quote it verbatim, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I don't remember. But Sean Hannity had like he texted or emailed someone, and he was like, "Sidney Powell is crazy. I don't believe. I don't believe anything she has to say. She's nuts." And then you cut to Hannity having Sidney Powell on his show after this exchange and asking her like, "So tell us what you really know about the fraudulent election." There
Yeah.
was one of the most damning things I think was there was a reporter for Fox News whose name I don't know, a blonde woman because apparently that's all they hire there, and
I've
she
seen some dudes.
fact checked a tweet from or a Truth Social post from our previous president about how the election was rigged and stolen, and basically said there is no evidence for any of this. Blah blah blah. Tucker Carlson texted or emailed someone saying, "Can we fire her? Seriously, she's bringing the stock price down."
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was also a thing about Jimmy Kimmel did a thing where he posted all the times that Tucker Carlson has said um, good things about Russia
Right.
because he accused Jimmy Kimmel of uh, being a mouthpiece for a foreign government, which I thought was funny. All
Yeah.
this comes around to the thing about there was a I think it was the Department of Energy who posted a thing with low confidence that the COVID-19 virus
Oh
escaped from
yeah.
a lab in China,
Yeah.
and that was enough to get that conversation happening again. And so there was an exchange that I saw on in Congress. I don't remember who it was, if it was a senator or representative, but one person like said that Donald Trump was saying that it was a thing from China, and he had been saying it all along. And then someone else made a point, and this is a Democratic person. I can't think of his name. It starts with a B, maybe. Um, but anyway, his basic thing was he quoted sometimes when Donald Trump said good things about how China was dealing with the COVID-19 thing.
Yeah.
So he was like, so that's your guy. That's not us. So it was interesting. It is a problem if you make statements that could be considered contradictory because someone could quote whichever one they want,
That
I
I mean
suppose.
that would only work if Republicans had shame or a sense of hypocrisy.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is the same guy, by the way. He did that, and then he um corrected people in Congress about they keep on saying the Democrat plan,
Yeah.
and he said you should call it the Democratic plan.
No, that's their
That's
whole
the
thing.
correct adjective.
Yeah. No, they don't
Yeah,
do that. They say Democrat specifically as a troll.
yeah. And he
The
that's what he said.
Democrat
He
Party.
said
Yeah.
he said it would be like if I started referring to you as banana Republicans, which I thought was fun.
Jon Stewart went on a little victory lap on his podcast recently because he got a lot of flack a few months ago after going on the Colbert Show and advocating, that's not the right word, but promoting the lab leak theory. And now that
He was promoting. Jon Stewart
he
was promoting the lab
Jon
leak theory.
Stewart, yeah, he was saying that that's what he believed, and he got a lot of pushback from that. And now that the Department of, or is it the Department of Energy, Department of Homeland
I
Security? I don't
think it
know
was
who's.
I think it was the Department of Energy. They listed a whole bunch of them and what their different things were.
Yeah. So
I
now
think
that
there
it's
might
even
be
in the realm of possibility, Jon Stewart's
yeah
like, I told you.
yeah. There's high confidence, medium confidence, low confidence. I believe. I think that's the way that they work.
We
And
are,
so low confidence
yeah.
means we think that it might be real. Oh, here's another thing. Remember Havana syndrome?
Havana syndrome. That sounds like a band.
Yeah, it's it wouldn't be a bad name for a band. Ben, you and I should think about it, maybe. But the basic thing is that people thought that maybe all these diplomats and stuff were getting these weird like symptoms, and they thought that it might be like a microwave energy weapon that was being trained on people by operatives. And the agencies had just released a thing saying that there is no um, no evidence that that is the case, and they believe that the report they have pretty high confidence that the report is correct. So the idea is, well, I mean, this is still happening, but what is it? They all because all the report said was it's not a foreign actor who's doing it or an enemy. So does that mean, is it a problem with the places? Is it mass hysteria?
Dogs and
Did have
cats living together.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I do remember this though, and I know this sounds crazy, but there was a place in the International District. If you're walking from where Vulcan is,
Yeah.
and you're walking to where the martial arts center is. You remember that the place I used to go, the martial arts place?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the street, but I know where it was.
If you're walking that path on the streets, because you make a couple of turns, but
It's
on
like,
one of the streets,
yeah.
every time I would walk there, I would get this headache and my teeth would ache really, really bad. And just at that part of the thing, and I thought to myself that there must be like an electrical wire under the ground that's shorting out or something.
I mean, who knows what is surrounding us these days? Famously, Lucille Ball, like back in the 60s, got a radio transmitter through a tooth filling. And now the amount of electrical energy surrounding us has just exploded.
Oh no. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, but I mean, the army has. I mean, the military has produced these sorts of weapons where it's like a vomit gun. You know, they just aim this thing at opposing soldiers, making them however it works, making them vomit. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a pretty. I mean, all
When
things
you said
considered, that is
vomit
a.
gun, I thought of a super soaker filled with vomit, and that in and of itself would
I
also be
mean,
horrible.
all things considered, the gun that makes opposing soldiers vomit is, you know, a non-violent means, but
More humane, I
it's
guess.
it's pretty violent though if you're on the receiving
It's
end of
still
that.
it's still not nice. And here's the thing, this is the interesting thing. I bet you a non-lethal gun would be easier to get soldiers to use. You remember that whole study about how lots of soldiers miss on purpose? Or maybe not even on purpose, but they miss. They fire above people's heads and stuff. It's hard to get people to kill other people.
Well, I mean that makes sense. I don't know the specific study you're talking about, but I mean that's why they give. I mean, people don't like, I mean, unless you're a psychopath. People don't like killing other people, even in times of war.
No.
I mean, that's why they give. I think it's the Japanese who have multiple buttons for for their lethal method of killing. I can't remember if it's hanging or injection or shock or whatnot, but like 5 people press the button at once. That way you don't know, they don't know
Yeah, I
who
mean,
is
this
actually
is something that
responsible for causing the death of somebody.
would happen with
Firing squads.
firing squads. Yeah, exactly. Everybody has a blank except for one guy or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
It's like Russian roulette all at once.
or one guy has a blank and everyone else can say, "Oh well, maybe I was probably the guy." The other thing that I wanted to mention, you mentioned electricity, right?
Yeah.
Well, I did, and then you did. We were talking about electricity, so I can say. I was reminded of something that I learned when I was a low volt technician guy. Um, Electricity does not travel through wires. When we get electricity in our house, it's not traveling through the wire. It's traveling on the outside of the wire. It's traveling around the wire. And that's significant because there's this kind of weird experiment that if you turn on a switch, right? The the light, especially like a LED light, this is more of an example, will turn on instantaneously faster than it would take the speed of light to go around the wires that hook up to it. But
Yeah.
the reason is because it's the energy isn't all traveling in that wire. It's actually on the outside, and the outside of that wire and the outside on the inside, the outside of the inside, the fields around the wires, right? Depending on the configuration, can actually touch each other before the energy from like the battery or the power source goes all the way through all the wires, because it doesn't go through the wires. It's around the wires. And it's a magnetic field and an electrical field. And that's what makes the power go. You can tell when my lack of knowledge kind of kicked in there, but it's true.
I'll have to go look at see what kind of bulbs we have in the green room here because it's an interesting phenomenon when you so there's the green room here at Annex we have
Yep.
these ceiling lights. There's a bank of
Hey
like
Ben, what color is the green room?
why it is green, Paul.
Hey.
Anyway, so when you turn the lights on, like these 4 lights go on, and then those 2 lights go on. It's this weird, like, momentary, 1/16th of a second beat, but it's still noticeable. And to somebody, it looks like, oh, it just takes the electricity that much longer to get there. But I think what's happening is we have LED bulbs in the first bank and incandescent bulbs in the second
Yeah.
bank. And they just take a bit longer to charge to fully illuminate. I'll have to go look at that.
Do you remember, were you with me when Michael Hayes had a concert that he did in Georgetown?
Was this in like the rehearsal space in like felt like a warehouse?
Yeah, yeah. He that's exactly right. He had to stop the concert a little bit and like take a break and figure out something because the signal that was going through he had a synthesizer that he was playing, and the signal that was going through had just enough latency where he would press the key and it would still go off, but it would go off like a split second
Yeah.
longer than it needed to be, and it was just throwing him off. And then he fixed it, and then everything worked out.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing
But
that, but I remember being there with Steven, and you were probably there as well.
yeah, yeah, it was
Uh,
cool. I mean, that was a neat little place and time. Georgetown during those times. Half an hour, Ben. We've been talking for a half an hour. Just wanted to let you know.
Boy, the time just flies by. I went to a show at the Tacoma Dome, and the band was on one end of the dome. I sat on the other end of the dome, and it was really weird because I could see like the drummer hit something, and then I heard it because
Yep.
I was so far away. The sound took so long to get to me, but it was still. It was. I want to say it was still synced up to the large video monitors. So the large video monitors. I think this. Yeah, that's
If you watch
maybe.
the large,
Maybe
if
I'm
you
wrong.
watch the large video monitor, it was in time.
If I watched the large video monitor, because the large video monitor was delayed just enough that this to where the sound finally synced back up when the sound got to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It
had
was a
this
weird
thing that
little bit of
happened
physics there.
when I was a kid. I would watch the farmer, Alan Birtles, next door to me, pounding fence posts sometimes, and that would always happen. Is you'd see him hit the post, and then you'd
Bang,
hear it.
bang, bang.
And I always thought it was cool. It was a neat little trick about how physics work.
Yeah.
Here's something else that I don't hear people talk about a lot, and maybe it's just me, but I do remember this. I used to famously I stopped running every once in a while and would like hide, and my dad would watch with binoculars, and when I would get back and pretend like I had been running, he'd say, "I saw you. You never came out from behind that hill," that sort of thing. Um, so one thing that would happen is, they would be walking on the roads, the farmers and everything like that. And when you're far enough away and you see a human being walking towards you, you can't tell which direction they're walking in because their features are, small enough that you can't tell which way they're facing. And you can tell that they're walking, you can
Hmm.
see their arms swinging and their legs moving, but the size difference between where you're at and where they're far enough away that they don't seem to change size
Right.
at first. You have to look away and then look back, and then you can usually tell. But
There's
your
a
mind is readjusting when you're looking at them.
there's a shot. I think it's Lawrence of Arabia, where they're in the desert, and in this scene you can see, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia on his horse riding out of like an optical illusion that happens in the desert. It's like
Yeah.
it looks like it's like shiny and like
Yep.
water, and then it's just kind of like fuzzy because the light is going through all this dust and crap to get to you. Well, apparently they created a lens, a really long lens specifically for that shot. Used it for that one shot and never used it again.
Wow.
So there's this really long, expensive lens hanging out in in some back room at whoever shot that movie. I don't even know, like Warner Brothers or something.
The I mean that phenomenon, that thing that happens in the desert, it happens here in Illinois too. I mean, maybe it happens in Washington. I don't know if it gets hot enough or if it's humid enough, but where you'll get what looks like puddles on the road
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
driving
yeah.
towards them, and then they'll disappear. And And so what I'm saying is you and I need to go and get that lens and then make our own
Just film an
Lawrence of
entire
Arabia
movie
shot.
only with that lens.
Exactly, that's right. That's
We
right.
have to be like 3 miles away from our subject. Just
I mean, somebody should. And this is the thing is that whenever I think somebody should do that, why not me?
why not you,
So,
Paul?
yeah, exactly. Well, because I don't live in California and
Yeah,
you don't live in California.
we don't live in
We don't
California.
know anyone in the film industry really. There's a
Well,
lot of reasons.
you know John Hamm and I know Joel McHale. Between the two of us,
Jeez, you know Joel McHale more than I know John Hamm, though.
I
That's the
wouldn't
thing.
say that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, well, yeah, that's a good point. When I knew him, we were equals. I mean, not really, but
when I knew him,
sort of.
when I knew Joel, he was a grad student, but he had been on TV for a while, so
Yeah.
he
And
wasn't
you
necessarily.
were a guy.
I was an undergrad and an intern.
I still one of my favorite line readings that you had was I something something something. It was glued shut.
Oh yeah.
You were buying what was the musical group
So
that you
the conceit of the sketch was that Matt Smith, the purveyor of this CD shop, would take CDs that he didn't like, switch out the discs to songs he thought people should listen to, and when people bought these CDs, they would come up and complain that their Ani DeFranco CD was switched out for Helen Reddy, something like that.
yeah.
So my line was, I go up and I say, I picked up the Spice Girls CD, but when I tried to open it, I realized it had been glued shut.
Yeah.
And then Matt
And,
Smith
and
goes and he like pretends to use, oh, you can use it as a table shim or a frisbee or whatnot.
yeah,
The thing is,
the
and
thing
I was
I
just,
remember about that, you did not break.
I was just telling this story to someone recently because I was so proud of myself that I didn't break that entire time, but the camera wasn't even on me.
Yeah, it's like when Sigourney Weaver made that shot, but it goes
Oh,
out of frame, so you can't. Um, Here's something. I mean, for this is good. This is what you come to the GudeLaurance podcast to hear about. Tales of the performance art. Uh,
Anecdotes of our flirtation with fame.
yes, exactly.
Speaking of websites that don't
You
exist anymore, what happened to like lol cats or whatever that
Oh,
was?
is it gone now? Did they?
I can has cheeseburger. Is that still a thing?
I don't know. Maybe This is I just between you and me. This is one of those things that ended on the cutting room floor when we were doing that thing where I would complain about working there during the breaks and just how I thought that the business model was so bad and like just laid out. Here's the thing: if you have a picture, they'll try to buy it, and if you won't sell it to them, they'll get another cat, change the words a little bit, move it around, and then they'll sell that instead. And no one will remember your cat because their cat is now the real one. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
They did not like me. The
No, I.
When I say they, I mean the people who ran the thing. And I think that their dislike of me was what eventually killed the show. That and also, I think the show should have stayed on Animal Planet because it's not really a Bravo thing.
It was
Yeah,
on
when it started
Animal
out,
Planet.
no, when it started out, it was going to be on Animal Planet,
Oh.
and then
Yeah,
they
'cause I
got
knew
to
it was
deal
on
with Bravo. Because if it had been on Animal Planet, we'd still be making it probably.
I mean, Animal Planet might not have put your finale at 1:30 in the morning.
Exactly, that's right. But what was I talking about? Then I got on to us, and our thing. Yes, the biggest thing. You, Ben Lawrence, the half of GudeLaurance, you not breaking because you don't break hardly ever. So there's a talk. And you know what? Search the audio because it might have mentioned this already. Um, Terminator X, DJ for Public Enemy. And yes, I'm going to compare it to Public Enemy. It makes sense. said that Chuck D was so solid that he could throw in like crazy sounds and Chuck D could rap over it and would still work.
Oh,
You
would
know,
he try? Would X try to throw off Chuck D?
no, he wouldn't try to throw off Chuck D, but he did experiment a lot with a lot. I mean,
Right.
if you listen to what Public Enemy was doing, uh, you know, and other stuff around that time, they were taking crazy chances with like sirens and all sorts of, you know, stings and stuff like that. That you know, jarring sometimes. Not everything was nice, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, but part of that was because Chuck D was so solid. Uh, you can look for the quote. I'm sure that's out there somewhere. But the thing is, you, Ben, the fact that you don't break allowed us to do some stuff that if it were two people grinning like idiots, it wouldn't have worked.
I think
So
I've
have
lost.
you ever,
I think I've lost that talent. I haven't. Because my face belies my emotions a little too much these days.
yeah, I don't know.
I
I think it's just like riding a bike. All you gotta do is get mad at what I'm doing, and then it's fine.
I was often called out because I was about to say something that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and people would go, Ben,
Ben, what are you gonna
what you
say?
got one in the chamber. Here we go.
Yeah,
Just
sitting here like a grinning dum dum. Yeah, but Naked Ladies was a lot of fun in that regard too. I think you're right in that it would have been like seeing people break on stage is novel and fun, but not if it's the entire show.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing is that uh having that, I'm not going to say gravitas, but having that juxtaposition. You know, I talked about this before on the podcast. One of the things that I really liked that wasn't a put on, but seemed really odd was as we got into it and as we like learned a little bit more about stuff, like we started thinking about safety and we started going, okay, well, so if I throw the pillow at you, it could actually end the audience. So we want to be angled this way and we want to do this. And
Right.
what kind of floor is this? What are we doing? You know, that sort of thing. I like that a lot.
Professional performance artists.
There
Always thinking of
was
everything.
there was one act that I think only performed once at Spin the Bottle, but I thought it was really interesting. They were like, you might actually remember this too, improv movement people. It
Improv
was a
movement
man, it was
people.
a man and a woman, and they weren't dancing. They were just moving in the space in weird ways, and they'd like get in each other's ways, and one would lean on the other one or lift
Hmm.
the other one up and stuff.
It's
I don't remember
more of a
exactly how,
dance piece than
but yeah, but not dancing. More like a weird physical.
yeah.
You know what it is? It's Buto physical comedy, is what I would
It's
say.
it sounds like sort of viewpoints ish for like activity.
Maybe so. Yeah, I'm
I
not very
remember
familiar with viewpoints.
I don't think because I remember when we were workshopping ATF, we had a rehearsal where we did something like that, where it was a lot of like two people just like making shapes with each other.
I do remember that. Yeah. Um, I did not remember this. Jennifer mentioned it, and I completely forgot about it. Um, because I don't know if they even talked about it, but she actually was not selected to be in it. You know, she was there for the original workshop, and I was like, why didn't you continue? No, she's like, Tom Wisely said no to me,
He cut a
and
number
she
of
said
people.
like one of the hardest things about that, or not hardest like, you know, hardest to like she wasn't broken up about it, but the one of the things that she found so frustrating about it is that he sat her down and said, "You have to commit to this. If you're doing this, you have to commit.
Yeah.
Are you committed to it?" And she was like, "Yes," and and then after all that, it didn't happen. But I remember Tom Tom, the other
Molesky.
Tom Molesky, left
Yeah.
because he went on vacation and came back and couldn't do a magic trick, and Tom wisely like yelled at him in front of people. Not yelled at him like super angry, but like, what's your deal, man?
A lot of people learned a lot of things about a lot of other people during that process.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
and certain things weren't handled the best way that they could have been. There should have been. I mean, yeah, it would have been an interesting sort of like devised performance documentary if we'd had a camera crew following us the
oh yeah, for sure.
entire year and like had full access.
I'm gonna, I don't talk about work, but I'm gonna say something that I tell people at work sometimes. One time, I do theater stuff. One time I was in a show, and there was a guy who was directing people, and had a tall person, a medium-sized person, and a short person stand on each other's shoulders. A stack of three people high. Everybody's standing on each other's shoulders, and he says to them, "Okay, now just fall forward." And they're like, "I don't want to," and he's like, "It's going to be fine. Just fall forward."
Just
And
do it.
when they do, everyone is kind of okay. They don't do a good job, and they're like, "How did you know that would work?" And he said, "I didn't." And so, if you're gonna ask me to do something, I'm not sure if I'm going to just do it because yeah, that was not me. I don't think it was you either. I think it might have been.
I don't remember doing that.
I think it might have been Ron. I think Ron might have been one of them. I don't know. Ron was up for anything though, pretty much. I don't remember him saying nope, no thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, who did the cast end up being? It was Paul Bedritis, you and me,
You and me, John McKenna,
John McKenna,
Chris
um,
McDonald,
Chris McDonald.
Kira. No, not. I'm thinking. What's her? What was her name? Well, Susan Segala was one of the actresses. Um,
Who's the older woman with blonde hair? Was that Susan?
that was Susan.
Yeah.
Uh,
I really liked working with her. She had some good ideas.
Sybil Darling.
Sybil, yeah.
And I'm gonna have to look this person up. Surprised I can't remember her name.
Oh, right. Right. I
Because
know who you're talking about.
because Kira McDonald was part of the process, but she also left. Oh man, this is gonna drive me crazy because I can't
Oh
look her up
yeah.
because I don't know what her name is. Um,
And just for the people listening, if you're listening to this, it's not that we never knew what her name was or whatever. We knew what her name was. We talked to her
I
for a
even
very long time.
I even did a spin the bottle performance with her at one point. Um, wonder if I can look it up. And not
Yeah.
on
Well,
Facebook.
while
'Cause
you're
I'm-
while you're looking up, because yeah, let's do
yeah,
that.
entertain the
I'll
friends. This is gonna bother me.
I'll talk a little bit about what I feel like is maybe not exactly interesting, but my there's drama happening in the indie RPG scene again.
Oh
Uh,
no.
did I mention this already? That now that people are mad at TSR, other people are like, you should also be mad at any large role-playing game creator. Um, and other people are taking that out of context and blah 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 blah. But the big thing is that somebody wrote something to the effect of, I just made a game and I'm selling it and I haven't even sold 10 copies or something to that effect, like mad and frustrated,
Yeah.
because they're not people aren't seeing it. And I think about theater all the time whenever people say that, right? Because, like, yeah, you can put up on a show and get very small houses, right? Did you waste your time doing the show though? I don't think so. If you're involved in the arts, you definitely want people to see it, you want people to experience it and all that, but it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to. And if you don't see any value in doing something that only a few people see, it may not be the best use of your time, I guess is what I would say.
Well, there's a certain thing that happens in certainly fringe theater. So it sounds like it also happens in the indie RPG realm, where if you produce a play, let's say you produce like a brand new original work,
Yeah,
and there's this sense that I get that um, that people owe it to you to see your play.
right.
Whereas, no. I mean, you have to market it and it should be good, but people are not obligated to see the thing that you worked hard on.
Yeah, exactly. Or to that effect, like it.
Exactly.
Um, I'm gonna you're gonna know who I'm talking about. Um, I went to a reading that somebody had for a play of theirs,
Yeah.
and they were soliciting feedback, and nobody said anything because they were all this person's friend, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
And the person who was soliciting feedback said, "Did anyone else here just see a play? Let's talk about it." And I believe Brett Fetzer was there, I want to say, and he
Brett's
talked
good
about it.
for, yeah, telling you the truth.
But he was waiting. He was waiting, and then once he did, I mean, and his criticism was, valid and constructive and all that, but you could tell that that wasn't what the person really was expecting. They
Yeah.
wanted to be told that they did a good job and that people liked the play.
Right.
Um, pot kettle, all that. I stopped working on red shirts after the read through when people had notes for me, and I was like, I'm not doing that. No, thank you. It made Jennifer
Kaya.
really annoyed with me because she helped set the whole thing up. And then I
Yeah.
got the feedback. I was like, yeah, I don't want this. It's one of the reasons why I've stopped doing a bunch of stuff. Although I think, have I mentioned that for my birthday, I've hired Jennifer to do, yeah, I did. I hired
Yeah.
Jennifer
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
Mara and the Magicians. Um, and that's the one thing I don't know if I mentioned this when we talked about last night because I went off on it a little bit. Um,
We talked a lot about
did I
it.
mention already the thing about how it was a kind of a pushback on the cross casting thing that was getting people
Yeah.
mad? And I was like, okay, well then fine. That's not what it says in the books. Well, now it does say it in the book. So go ahead and don't complain about it.
That's some forward thinking there, making your lead character a person of color just to head off the fact that there might be complaints when a movie is made and the lead character is a person of color.
Yeah, and I guess the big thing is that I I feel like whenever I watch, I mean, I watched a thing recently, a comedy thing, and it was from, like several years ago, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And then I realized everyone in it was a white person, and it felt wrong to me. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to go, I don't know. Now, granted, Ben, the diversity in GudeLaurance is small. Uh,
Two white guys, not a lot of
yeah,
diversity.
and that's it, right? The podcast, the thing, but I feel like what you have to do if you are, what do they call it in Great Britain, when you're a two-person act, a double act, I think.
Maybe.
When you're a double act, you just have to make sure that when you work with other people, you expand your horizons. So like
Yeah.
if we were going to put a show together, a night of whatever with Ben and Paul, we would not want to cast just white people
Right.
as an example. Oh, and that's something fun. Uh, for those of you who are listening, it's let's see, March 2nd
Second.
or 3rd, March 2nd, 2023, and Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert, just racist himself out
Bef-
of.
Before we get to that, I just want to mention this before I forget it.
Yeah,
The person whose name I was trying to remember was Kiana Rain.
Kiana Rain. Kiana Rain, who yeah, did not only did she not only is she in ATF, a burlesque with us, she also filmed scenes for the bullet catcher that never happened.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah,
she is now an MMA fighter.
she deserves it. Do you remember her kickboxing stuff that she did?
Oh yeah,
We
she
had
was.
audition stuff, and yeah. Oh man, that's great. She's now my favorite MMA fighter.
If you were on
We
social
should
medias, I would tell you to look her up.
You should get her as a guest on the podcast. Reach
I'll
out to her in social media and
see
say,
what I can
"Hey,
do.
do you want to talk MMA stuff with
So
Ben and
yeah,
Paul? We don't know anything about it."
but yeah, going back, Dilbert creator Scott Adams surprised that he's losing all of his work because he's a racist.
Well, and granted, now this is where Stephen will call me out for being too specific, but I think it should be noted that that we're calling him a racist. It's up for debate.
Because he
Maybe
said
he said
racist
you
things?
should get the hell away from black people, which
He's promoting
I could,
segregation.
yeah, I could see that
He
someone
says
could
black
listen to
people
that
are a
statement
hate group.
and go, well, you know what? Maybe this guy is saying racist things, and I don't think anyone could fault us for drawing that conclusion from. But the other thing is that it was based on a poll that he read where where some black respondents to the poll said
It was it
they thought it's not okay to be white. I think is what
so Rasmussen, the pollsters are a
yeah.
notoriously right wing poll group, and they asked black people what they thought of the phrase, or if they thought the phrase "it's okay to be white" is racist. Now, there's a lot to unpack
Wow.
there because
Wow.
"it's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
to be white" was created by the same people who like created All Lives Matter. It is an inherently racist saying. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, it's not. There's
Yeah.
context there.
Do you think all lives matter is a racist statement?
Yeah, that's
Crazily enough, yes. And the reason is because it has to be taken into context. That's crazy. I thought it was just, and I'm serious about this. When they said it, I thought it was just do you think it's okay to be a white person? And 20 people or 20% or whatever said, "No, I don't." And I was going to go, you know what? Looking at the history, 100% understandable. I'm not going to fault you for that.
Yeah, so the
I
poll
mean,
was
this is the
basically a
thing.
troll.
Yeah. Now that I know that, it's even worse. Uh, all the stuff because he did not act like that. He seemed very Pollyannish about it a little
Right.
bit, like,
Yeah.
oh, these mean people. Why are they being so mean? And now I lost my thing. I don't know, man. I hope it doesn't happen to us. It feels like a sickness, right? But I think all that it is people start feeling, oh, I'm gonna lose some of the stuff that I have been handed to me.
There.
I better work, to
He,
keep it. Or, did we talk about this already? That maybe it's not. Yeah, I think we mentioned this with Dennis Miller. That Dennis Miller was kind of the same. He didn't really change.
right.
It's just that
Society
his
changed.
audience changed,
Yeah.
right? And he was. Oh yeah, we talked about this with what would have happened with George Carlin had he still been
Right.
around. But I mean, I still totally stand by the idea that you have to keep adjusting your worldview as the Overton window changes.
I'm
And
a
eventually, I think people
little
just get tired.
I'm a little afraid that we're headed towards a sort of dystopian future where people who think like you and me
Hmm.
are going to be the ones who are made fun of because they have changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There was a bill that was put forth in Florida recently that would have made it illegal to be a Democrat in Florida. And now chances are this bill is a troll by some right-wing MAGA Republican.
yeah,
However, if it passes the chambers in the Florida legislature, I can see Ron DeSantis signing that bill. And Ron DeSantis is a presidential contender. I can see a a dystopian Ron DeSantis led presidency. We thought Trump was bad. Ron DeSantis actually knows what he's doing.
yeah. Here's a question for you, Ben. If it came down to it, which would you do? And the answer is, I think I have an Irish grandpa somewhere. Let me just see if they still have their standard
I know if there's
immigration policy.
if if the U.S. starts to take political prisoners because you believe that Black Lives Matter, that a woman should control her own body, that trans men are men, trans women are women, that everybody should get that equal pay for equal work. If that's what's going to put me in prison because I believe those things.
Prison is going to end up being the cool place. It's just like it's just like how the bad neighborhoods, quote unquote, become the center for arts because that's
Yeah.
where the people end up. And then all these people are going to try to get into prison because that's where all the fun, interesting stuff is
And
happening.
then we're going to be gentrified out of prison with all the
Exactly.
fascists.
That is right. Ben, we have our next script. The gentrification of the oh man. Yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad. Did you get arrested just so that we'd listen to your CD? Hey man, it's not like that.
How
Uh
did you get this screenplay in here?
no, I really do think, Ben, and this is me being totally serious. I feel like we're gonna change enough, hopefully, that the younger generations don't hate us, like outright hate us, but we are going to still be more conservative than they are. There's going to be a thing where we're like, I don't know, man. I feel like I liked it when I turned on the TV and I didn't have to convince it to go to a channel. I think that's what it's going to. I'm not positive about this, but I think AI is where the new thing is going to go. Where we're
Yeah.
like, I liked it when my machines just did what I told them, and they're like, "What are you saying?"
I yeah, I already can see myself becoming an old man and wanting to be mired in my ways. I can't think of any specific examples right now, but I don't know if you've heard about this. There's a thing that I read today that where like even if the U.S. doesn't slide into a dystopian fascist future, it's still going
Yeah,
to be an electronic hellscape. Ford just filed a patent that will let the car repossess itself should you fall behind on payments.
yeah, I saw that,
And
which is nuts.
Sony actually proposed a patent for a smart TV that only allows you to skip commercials if you stand up and yell out the name of the advertiser. So let's say you're watching a McDonald's commercial. To get back to your program, you have to yell McDonald's at the TV, and then it'll go
Yeah,
back to
I'm not buying that TV. But I'll
the
tell you
Masked Singer.
this, the 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 car, right, repossessing itself,
Yeah,
all that says to me is I'm not going to buy a car. There are
yeah.
going to be plenty of services that will rent me a car for and for less than the car payment, like, you know what I mean? Like I won't do maintenance on it. I won't do any of this. I'll just have a car that I can call.
We're already getting into that point. I mean, the whole car repossessing itself is a few years down the road, but already BMW has subscription services for their cars. Like you have to pay an add-on subscription to enable your heated seats on certain
Wow,
models
yeah.
of BMW.
I mean, that's the subscription thing is something that I really don't like. Um, Again, the way that I would get around it is just think to myself, well, what are the benefits of subscribing to things? Software, not that many, right? But like for Dropout, and Taskmaster Plus and all that, by subscribing, I'm supporting that company,
Yeah.
making new shows for me. Wow, we're already past. I've got passionate about this, Ben.
I
Sorry.
know. We'd like to send a note to our affiliates down the line. We're going long tonight.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, Ben. Let's go ahead and end it here at a minute 7 by
An
my.
hour 7.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. An hour 7. But I could talk to you forever, Ben, because I like you and I
Yeah.
enjoy our talks.
All right, Paul, and good talk today. And well, I'll hope you keep it wrong, and I will see you next week.
Hey, keep it wrong, man, and I'll see you next week. And hopefully.